So, Neera Tanden. Let's see her response. Neera Tanden, President and CEO for the Center of American Progress, released the following statement today. The orientation of CAP is to positively engage with all the political leaders about the country's future. Of course. ThinkProgress is editorially independent of CAP and CAP action. To be clear, ThinkProgress was the one who put out this video attacking Bernie as a millionaire, and Center for American Progress claims ThinkProgress is it's separation of church and state. We have nothing to do with each other. ThinkProgress is editorially independent of CAP and CAP action, which is what has made it valuable as a news outlet. Similarly, we at CAP can form our own opinions of their work. We believe the content of the ThinkProgress video critiquing Senator Sanders is overly harsh and does not reflect our approach to a constructive debate of the issues. Yeah, of course you think it's harsh. After Bernie Sanders came after you, you suddenly think it's harsh. So, there's a lot to say about this. Let's start with more information on who the Center for American Plutocrats is. As of 12/2013, Center for American Plutocrats corporate donors, including Walmart, Citigroup, Wells Fargo, defense contractor Northrop Grumman, America's Health Insurance Plans, and Eli Lilly & Co. That sounds pretty progressive to me. What about you? Other large CAP donors include Embassy of the United Arab Emirates, who is the human rights violations from UAE is unspeakable. Goldman Sachs, who crashed our global financial system and got off scot-free. Bank of America, who is also part of that racket. Google, who's destroying the world by censoring free speech and basically suppressing anti-war voices and liberal voices and progressive voices in their ranks. Time Warner, who actually was the parent company of CNN until last year, and incidentally is Kamala Harris's biggest donor. Go figure. And Pharmaceutical Research and Manufacturers of America. That sounds super progressive to me. What about you? Glenn Greenwald. Beyond the corporate funders and foreign regimes that fund CAP, Neera Tanden hides many of its largest funders behind a wall of anonymity, refusing to disclose who funds them. So the largest DC Dem think tank is sustained with dark money. Here's a post from them, $1,000 or more donors. That's interesting. You got Fidelity, Ford Foundation, Bill and Melinda Gates, the Hutchins family, Joyce Foundation, Jonathan and Jeannie Levine, Sandler, Silicon Valley, Tomcat, and 5 anonymous donors. Isn't that interesting? Who the hell knows? Who knows? Could be the Koch brothers. Could be, well, we know George Soros has given money to them. Could be Exxon. I mean, who the hell knows who's funding Center for American Progress? I thought this was interesting too. And on cue, Center for American Plutocrats just sent around a statement responding to Sanders that includes, as a related resource, a 2008 post on ThinkProgress by his campaign manager. His campaign manager used to work there, regarding ThinkProgress's editorial independence. So they're basically trying to use a post Bernie's former campaign manager wrote while at ThinkProgress to say, look, Bernie's campaign manager, when he was there, wrote a post saying we're independent. Only Bernie's campaign manager then set him straight. As Matty Iglesias will remember well, even the drafting and publishing of this post wasn't independent. Happy to talk to any journalists who want to discuss editorial independence, if that's the debate they want to have. He's basically saying, Neera Tanden was breathing down our throat while we were writing this. It wasn't independent of the Center for American Plutocrats. Li Fang, great reporter of The Intercept. Since we're on the subject, when I was an investigative reporter for ThinkProgress, I was asked to visit Comcast's lobbying office in Washington, D.C. CAP officials said Comcast was a major donor to CAP, and I should take a moment and hear their side of the story on telecom issues. Hey, that sounds like any reporter I know. And, I'm not blaming Lee. He was working there, but yeah, reporters, when you're working on a story that might be critical of Comcast, who do we want to meet? They're lobbyists. Wait a minute. We should hear their side of the story because they're a major donor. Does that sound like a progressive think tank or a front group for the corporate right-wing Democratic establishment? Benjamin Armbruster. There's been a lot of talk about the editorial independence of ThinkProgress from CAP in response to today's news. Seeing that this is a topic I happen to know quite a bit about, I will offer what I know. I was the national security news vertical editor, which no longer exists at ThinkProgress, from roughly 2011 to 2014. In late 2011, early 2012, we were smeared by the right-wing pro-Israel lobby and their allies as pro-Iran and anti-Semites because we were writing stories that were critical of Israeli government policies that makes the two-state solution more difficult, and writing pieces critical of going to war with Iran and supportive of diplomacy with Iran. Instead of vigorously defending our work, CAP, led by Neera Tanden, mildly backed us in public at first, but behind the scenes, Neera and others began monitoring and censoring our work on Iran and Israel. That's been written about, so you could Google it. But I remember once a CAP senior staffer told me that Benjamin Netanyahu's name was not to appear in any stories I wrote or edited. Talk about independence. A few months before, in the fall of 2011, and this hasn't been reported before, a senior CAP national security staffer demanded that we stop writing about Saudi human rights violations because a Saudi prince was in town and this staffer was trying to solicit donations. You got to be kidding me. Anyway, it was after that smear campaign against us that there seemed to be a steady campaign to portray, in public and reality, ThinkProgress as editorially independent from CAP. I really have no insider insights into how successful ThinkProgress was in securing its editorial independence. But back in March of 2014, the editor-in-chief, whom I like and respect, was quoted as saying, ThinkProgress is editorially independent. But the Podesta emails revealed by WikiLeaks shows a 2016 email in which the very same editor-in-chief, his name is Jed Legume, changed a headline that was critical of Hillary at the request of Neera Tanden. Also, ThinkProgress staffers, both current and recent, strenuously object to claims that ThinkProgress isn't independent from CAP. It seems they have negotiated this independence into their union contract, although I'm not really sure what that means. But the odd thing about pointing to this story is that it notes that BuzzFeed was first to report. All right, this is not. I'm not going to read the rest because it's not really relevant, but. Here's more about their independence from Lee Fong, who used to work there. There are many progressives at ThinkProgress CAP working to make the world a better place, but there are also many partisan hacks, and even worse, hacks literally paid by special interests to peddle influence for corporations at the expense of the public interest. Here are a few. CAP AF board member Hillary Rosen, who's on CNN all the time, is a partner at SKD Knickerbocker. SDK Knickerbocker helped junk food companies lobby against Michelle Obama's school nutrition standards, managed a massive lobby campaign to cut corporate taxes, helped TransCanada build support for Keystone XL pipeline. Whew! Feel the progressive progress there. CAP board president Tom Daschle is a registered lobbyist for Comcast, Blue Cross Blue Shield, and Aetna CVS. Daschle, his filings showed, is paid to help the health insurance industry shape the Trump administration's disastrous new rule on the individual market. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. CAP fellow Rudy DeLeon earns over $300,000 a year as a board member to General Dynamics, one of the largest armed contractors in the world. DeLeon regularly publishes pieces for CAP supporting strengthened security ties to Egypt, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates, all clients of GD. CAP fellow Brian Catalyst simultaneously works at the influence peddling firm Albright Stonebridge Group. Emails leaked from UAE ambassadors show he helped foreign dictatorships lobby the Trump administration. He has a long history of censoring ThinkProgress on foreign policy issues. So what's so amazing about this is you have Neera Tanden, her disciples, on Twitter, it's the same accounts that are constantly attacking progressives. And their talking point has always been, who is Bernie Sanders to define what a progressive is? Who are these Bernie bros who they help push that BS bullshit narrative? Who are these people to define what is a progressive and what is not? Sounds like people who don't want to be called out for not being progressive. It's not only that they're not progressive, they're not even liberal. They are Republicans. and they are neocons, all of them. Neera Tanden is not a president of a think tank. She's a president of a front group. WikiLeaks, and I could show you more of this tomorrow. WikiLeaks, there were so many emails from the Podesta leaks showing Neera Tanden was basically working for the Hillary Clinton campaign as an unofficial advisor, and like one of those tweets said, was dictating to ThinkProgress's editor-in-chief change his headline is too critical of Hillary. So enough. You know, they're lucky that the Notre Dame Cathedral is burning. Maybe this would get more attention, but the news is diverted to that, understandably. But this is not a liberal think tank, and I am glad that Bernie Sanders is finally taking the gloves off, because you cannot defeat extreme conservatism with country club conservatism. That's what ThinkProgress is. That's what Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer are. You can't defeat reprehensible extremes like Donald Trump, Steve King, Ted Cruz with, people you could take to the country club and sound better, and they're not as, viscerally racist and this and that, but their policies are racist, their policies are anti-progressive, their policies are regressive, their policies are pro-corporate, their policies are pro-war. They are not a contrast to those extreme conservatives. So when you hear people criticizing Jimmy Dore, or me, or Lee Camp, or Glenn Greenwald, or Jamal Thomas, Kyle Kalinske, Mike from the Humanist Report, I don't know who else I'm leaving out. It's not that these folks, I don't want to speak for them, but it's not that these folks don't want to defeat Trump, don't want to defeat extreme conservatism. Trust me, I would love to do more videos critiquing Republicans. But if we don't call out the Democratic Party, we're not going to defeat those extreme conservatives, because you can't defeat extreme conservatism with country club faux progressivism. You can't do it. The Democratic Party has lost over 1,000 seats in the last decade, and they are very, very lucky in 2018 that they were running against Trump in the midterms, because that's why the Democrats won. It's not because they had a lot of milquetoast centrist candidates, but Trump's popularity, especially shrinking among suburban mothers and suburban women, helped the Democratic Party, and they had a lot of actual progressives running. Look at that. And a record number of women, which is a good thing. But if this is a sign of what Bernie Sanders is going to be doing in his campaign, give me more of that, because people want a fighter. People want a fighter. It will galvanize his troops, his volunteers, his people to donate more. And most importantly, you cannot respond to a corporate warmongering bully by asking politely, can we talk about the issues? No, you got to figuratively punch them in the nose. Period. It's not negative campaigning. It's fighting for your policies, your platform, and your people. Because the people watching right now, a lot of you might volunteer for Bernie Sanders. A lot of you have community events for Bernie Sanders. A lot of you donate money. You probably don't have a lot of extra money to Bernie Sanders. So he cannot not respond anymore to Center for American Progress. And Bernie Sanders will be live on Fox News tonight, which is super important too. He is going on for a town hall on Fox News to discuss with conservative voters his policies, which is brilliant, because Fox News has a lot of Trump voters. And I could tell you from personal experience covering the Trump campaign, if you go into enemy territory, you can win. If you go into enemy territory, you can change minds, especially in those Midwest states that got hoodwinked by Donald Trump. How do I know? Because when I covered the Trump campaign for TYT, and I went to those rallies, which I still need therapy for, when I asked them, who would you vote for if not Bernie Sanders? You know what they told me? Excuse me. Who would you vote for if not Donald Trump? You know what they told me? Not Ted Cruz, not Ben Carson, not the rest of the circus clown car. Bernard Sanders. Hope you enjoyed that last video. Hop on over to statuscoup.com, where you can sign up for our email list and become a member for as low as $5 to $10 a month. Membership is how we grow. That's statuscoup.com/join. And remember, join our email list so we can grow the revolution with you.